Asian Australian creatives defying cultural norms to pursue art careers. Many Asian Australian migrants encourage their children to choose stable, high-paying professions. But these Asian Australians have defied their parents' and cultural expectations to carve their own identity in the creative industries. Melbourne-based artist DOCG was taught to become a doctor, lawyer or engineer, like many of his cousins, but instead pursued a career in graphic design, photography and art. DOCG's parents were initially confused by his artistic career path, but the artist said he enjoyed the sense of expression and freedom of doing something he loves. The Australian art industry has been criticised for exclusion of minority groups, including migrants. Title: U.S. Writers' Strike, the looming threat of AI in the creative industry. The U.S. writers' strike has been ongoing for over a month, with pay being the apparent focus of the dispute. However, at the heart of it lies the threat of artificial intelligence (AI) replacing human creativity. The Writers Guild of America has suggested that AI could be used to generate initial drafts, leaving writers to polish stories, resulting in production companies saving money. The Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers (AMPTP) have refused to accept the writers' demands, instead offering annual meetings to discuss advancements in technology. Some in the industry are already exploring AI's creative functions, with Philip Berg creating AI screenwriter to generate film plots. However, many fear that AI use could lead to the degradation of the craft skill among writers. Title: Victorian community braces for energy price hikes fatal impact. The Salvation Army warns that the 25% electricity price hike in Victoria from July 1 could cause deaths, with charities like theirs struggling to keep up with increased demand for food and support. Community workers worry that the steep price rise will make it even harder for people to heat their homes in winter. A typical household bill will increase from $1,403 to $1,755 next year, affecting those unwilling or unable to engage in the retail market. Some people are already foregoing necessities to pay bills, resulting in a major concern for the organizations serving the community. Title: Australia's West Ball celebrates the roots of the ballroom scene and creates a safe space for queer people of colour. Description: attendees from across Australia gathered in Sydney to celebrate the West Ball, paying homage to the ballroom scene's roots in Harlem while carving out a safe space for future generations. The ballroom, ball, and house culture, created by queer African American and Latinx queer people in response to racism in drag pageants, continues to be a platform for the LGBTQ+ community to celebrate their identity. The West Ball is unique because it focuses on queer people of color, providing a space where they can connect and feel a sense of belonging. Hashtags. When Ruth needed an organ donation, her sister Sarah stepped forward with a life-changing gift. Sarah McManus, a South Australian woman, gave her sister Ruth Bland a miracle gift by donating her kidney. Ruth has lived with type 1 diabetes for about 3 decades, causing damage to her kidneys. After her kidney problems developed to the point where she needed a transplant, Sarah offered her own organ, despite the potential risk to her own health. Sarah underwent about a year of testing, improving her lifestyle choices, exercising at the gym, and giving up alcohol to ensure Ruth received the best, cleanest kidney she could offer. The sisters underwent the transplant surgery at the Royal Adelaide Hospital. Kidney Health Australia states that about 1,000 people are waiting for a kidney transplant at any one time, and the median wait time is 2.2 years. Title: Farmers criticise pause in aerial shooting of feral animals amidst pest boom. Farmers in New South Wales are blaming a recent 6-week ban on aerial culling operations for the increase in pest numbers. The ban was put in place by the National Parks and Wildlife Service (NPWS) following an anonymous complaint about an unsafe aerial shooting incident in Kosciuszko National Park. Farmers are now battling a boom in pest numbers, with many calling for the culling to resume. The Bureau of Meteorology is predicting that the upcoming El Niño event will create less than ideal breeding conditions for feral animals, providing a potential opportunity to crash their populations. However, experts say more resources are needed to effectively eradicate pests. Hashtags. Title: New South Wales Parliament debates mandatory training for bar staff to identify drink spiking and sexual violence. A petition with over 20,000 signatures calling for mandatory training for all New South Wales bar and security staff to detect drink spiking and sexual violence will be debated in Parliament today. The petition was launched by What Were You Wearing, after receiving thousands of stories of drink spiking incidents across Australia through an Instagram call-out. The petition calls for the Responsible Service of Alcohol (RSA) certificate to be amended to include a section on trauma-informed drink spiking and sexual violence awareness. Last year, the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics reported the highest level of drink spiking in 5 years. Title: Environmentalists call for new national park near Melbourne to prevent future logging. Environmentalists are pushing for the creation of the Great Forest National Park to protect old-growth forests in Victoria and prevent future logging. The proposed park would include 355,000 hectares of protected forests in the Central Highlands, about 60 kilometres northeast of Melbourne. The initiative aims to safeguard the world's tallest flowering plant, mountain ash, and the habitats of endangered wildlife, such as the leadbeater's possum. The Victorian government has brought forward the closure of the native timber industry from 2030 to the end of this year, allocating $200 million for the transition. Environmentalists hope that this move signals a new era of environmental protection in the state. This story meets the criteria and can be used for generating sound bites. Title: Why are non-alcoholic drinks so expensive when they have less tax and no booze? Going alcohol-free can spare you a hangover and save money, unless your new drink of choice is the zero-free version of certain high-profile tipples. Traditional alcohol producers have expanded into the $11 billion United States non-alcoholic drinks industry, but prices in this booming category often rival those of regular tipples, leaving consumers questioning the high prices charged. Sellers are exploiting the price-anchoring cognitive bias, leading to skewed judgments that command roughly the same prices as alcoholic drinks. The effect is strongest in bottle shops and bars but also works on websites of national liquor outlets. Council eases restrictions on tiny houses, caravans and tents in bid to ease housing crisis. The Mount Alexander Shire Council in Victoria, Australia, has removed permit requirements for non-permanent dwellings to help alleviate the housing crisis and homelessness in the area. The new rule allows residents to camp, park a caravan, or a tiny home on wheels on certain properties, provided the property already has an existing dwelling. There is no specified time limit on how long the extra home can stay, as long as it does not become a permanent dwelling. The council believes this will provide another option for those struggling to find a place to live or those who want to change their lifestyle. Search for missing submersible narrows in on area where noises heard for second day. Rescue teams continue to search for a tourist submersible that went missing in the North Atlantic with 5 people on board. The Coast Guard officials from the US, Canada, and France are using planes and ships to search the area, where underwater noises were detected for the second day. The more narrowly defined area is being searched, and more ships are joining the rescue mission. The exact location and source of the sounds are yet to be determined. Experts warn that the search teams have to eliminate potential man-made sources other than the missing submersible. The submersible could be as deep as about 3,800 meters below the surface near the wreck of the Titanic. Title: Proposed hotel development in Margaret River Town Centre draws concern from locals. Perth-based developer Feeney Group's plan to build a 37-room sustainable hotel in Margaret River's town centre has left some residents distraught. The proposed site is home to about half a dozen families, and the hotel development would displace them at a time when Western Australia is battling a rental crisis and high house prices. Housing advocacy group Just Home Margaret River expressed concern, saying short-stay accommodation was not the answer and that the town needed affordable, low-cost, or social housing for its residents. The development is out for public comment until early July. Title: WA's proposed abortion law reform could ease painful decision for pregnant women. 19 weeks into her pregnancy, Chloe Seals was told her baby would not survive longer than a month. She had to make the difficult decision to terminate the pregnancy, but was subjected to WA's restrictive laws that demanded a panel of doctors' approval. WA's Health Minister, Amber Jade Sanderson, has introduced a bill to Parliament that aims to overhaul existing abortion laws and abolish the mandatory approval panel. The bill provides for another doctor to discuss the situation and agree with the woman's doctor that termination is appropriate, making the process more private and dignified. The proposed changes would also allow more time for women and their families to make informed decisions. Title: 2000 Brave the Chill at Hobart's annual nude swim. As winter solstice comes around, Darkmofo Winter Festival in Hobart draws in thousands of tourists, with the most daring among them taking a dip in the River Derwent for the annual Darkmofo nude swim. This year, 2,000 people ran into the icy waters of Long Beach, stark naked, braving a temperature of just 3 degrees Celsius. Local drummers marked the solstice moment, and red flares signaled the start of the swim. The now iconic swim marks the end of the 2-week festival, which organizers estimate has brought in $5.5 million in revenue for the southern capital. Title: Philippines to export sweet Carabao mangoes to Australia. Australia is set to receive its first consignments of Carabao mangoes, also known as Manila mangoes, from the Philippines within weeks. The Philippine Embassy in Canberra said that protocols to export mangoes to Australia have been in place since 2016, with the industry looking to export during Australia's winter months. Although it is unclear how many mangoes Australia will import this year, the Australian Mango Industry Association CEO said the move would not cause any issues with the local industry. The Philippines produces mangoes all year round, unlike Australia, which has a mango season from September to March. Title: University study finds hair discrimination against African Australian students in schools. A recent University of South Australia study has found that African Australian students in primary and high schools have experienced hair discrimination, with braided hairstyles being a particular target. One student, Brianna, was recently told off by a staff member for wearing blonde braids, which she said were part of her cultural identity and helped her care for her hair. The study's findings revealed that such experiences were not isolated, with many students facing texturism and racism in schools. The study's authors have called for more culturally inclusive schools to address these issues. Title: Rio Tinto reopens damaged rail line after Pilbara train derailment. Mining giant Rio Tinto has reopened a major rail line in Western Australia's Pilbara region, which was damaged after a driverless train derailed over the weekend. The incident caused about 700 metres of track to be damaged, and investigations into the cause of the derailment are ongoing. Managing Director of Port and Rail Services Richard Cohen said that the company had complete confidence in the autonomous system it uses to operate its train, and that while derailments occasionally happen, incidents of this scale were rare. The cost of damage caused by the incident is yet to be revealed. Title: Northern Territory government misses 5-year remote housing target. The Northern Territory's government has failed to meet its target of building 1,950 bedrooms in remote communities over 5 years, as part of the National Remote Housing Partnership NRHP-NT. The NT government has built only 1,253 bedrooms since the agreement began on July 1, 2018. The NT's Housing and Homelands Minister, Selina Uibo, said a delayed commencement of the agreement had affected the delivery of the NRHP-NT. However, the government hopes to complete 1,500 rooms by the end of next week, with the remaining 450 bedrooms to be finished by 2023-24. A new $223.4 million agreement with the Commonwealth is in the final stages of approval. Title: NT government under fire for keeping youth bail report secret. The Northern Territory government is facing criticism for refusing to release a youth bail review report currently with its cabinet ministers, despite calls from various groups to make it public. The report allegedly contains advice that the current tough bail measures for youths are not effective and won't work in the future. While the government plans to release an unfinished review into bail laws, it confirmed the completed bail report won't be made public, infuriating legal groups, unions, and political opponents. The report's non-release raises questions about transparency and accountability in the government's policies. Title: Electoral Commissioner reports rise in online abuse and misinformation ahead of referendum. Ahead of Australia's referendum on an Indigenous voice to Parliament, the country's election watchdog, Australian Electoral Commission (AEC), has reported a surge in online abuse and misinformation. AEC's social media posts about the upcoming voting process and previous elections have been targeted. The watchdog has noticed an increase in aggressive comments, threatening posts towards individual staff members, and the circulation of unfounded claims against the AEC's process. AEC is taking measures to address the issue and educate people, especially in Indigenous communities, about the referendum electoral process. Legislation for the referendum passed the Senate on Monday, and the vote will take place later this year. Title: Victorian government accused of hoarding $500 million meant for growth areas. The Victorian government has been accused of hoarding more than $481 million from the Growth Areas Infrastructure Contribution (GAIC) fund, as communities in Melbourne's booming outer suburbs struggle without basic amenities. The GAIC fund was established in 2010 to pay for services like new train stations and bus routes, but the state government has allocated no money from it in the past two budgets. Critics say the money is not being spent quickly enough to keep up with population growth. The government is reviewing the scheme after a 2020 report on developer contributions recommended reforms. New South Wales falling behind, Sydney MP Alex Greenwich pushes ahead with equality bills, including ban on gay conversion. Independent member for Sydney, Alex Greenwich, will present a proposed equality legislation that includes outlawing gay conversion practices, giving protection to intersex children, and allowing transitioning without surgery. Greenwich believes the legislation will bring New South Wales in line with other Labor states and modernise the language in a range of laws. The three bills proposed are the Equality Legislation Amendment LGBTIQA+ Bill 2023, the Conversion Practices Prohibition Bill 2023, and the Variation in Sex Characteristics Restricted Medical Treatment Bill 2023. The bills will be introduced in August, and debate is expected by the end of the year. Former Little League coach to face court for historical child sex abuse charges. Former St Kilda Little League coach, Darryl Ray, is facing 26 charges of indecent assault upon a male following investigation by Victoria Police's Sexual Crimes Squad. Ray was coach of the St Kilda Little League team for 11 seasons between 1967 and 1977. The Victoria Police statement encourages anyone with information about sexual assault and child abuse to report it to Crime Stoppers. Title: Dingo drags 10-year-old boy underwater on K'gari, Fraser Island. A dingo attacked and dragged a 10-year-old boy underwater on K'gari, Fraser Island, raising concerns among Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service rangers. This comes after a spate of attacks, including one that led to the euthanization of a dingo. Despite the family declining further medical help, the QPWS rangers are monitoring the animal closely. Butchulla Aboriginal Corporation's Indigenous Ranger, Darren Blake, reminded tourists to secure their campsites and keep their children within reach while on the island. Rangers have also increased patrols in the area. Dingoes are becoming too fearless around humans, and their populations have increased on the island, posing an unacceptable risk to the public. Amazon, accused of tricking millions into Prime sign-ups, faces FTC lawsuit. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission has filed a lawsuit against Amazon, alleging that the e-commerce giant has used dark patterns to trick millions of consumers into unknowingly signing up for its Prime subscription service. The FTC claims Amazon has made it difficult for users to cancel their membership, with at least 5 clicks required from desktop and 6 from mobile. Amazon has denied the claims, saying its Prime cancellations process is clear and simple. The lawsuit is part of President Joe Biden's efforts to increase competition and tackle the market power of big tech firms. Andrew Tate appears in Romanian court on rape, human trafficking charges. Former professional kickboxer and social media personality Andrew Tate has appeared in a Romanian court, along with his brother Tristan, facing charges of rape, human trafficking, and forming a criminal gang to exploit women. Romania's anti-organized crime agency alleges that the four defendants formed a criminal group in 2021 to commit human trafficking in Romania, the US, and the UK. Prosecutors allege that 7 female victims were misled and transported to Romania, where Mr. Tate and his associates sexually exploited and subjected them to physical violence. Mr. Tate's spokesperson has stated that they are prepared to cooperate fully with the appropriate authorities. Outback National Park made famous by Chris Hemsworth ad closes indefinitely. Bujamala National Park, Lawn Hill, an iconic outback national park that gained fame from a Super Bowl advertisement with Chris Hemsworth, is now closed indefinitely due to severe flood damage. The park, a popular hotspot for travelers and campers, suffered devastating floods in March, which led to the closure. There are concerns that the indigenous cultural heritage sites of the Wanyee people, representing 30,000 years of Aboriginal history, may have been damaged. The closure has also affected the tourism industry in outback Queensland, with communities feeling the flow-on effects of the park's closure during an already stagnant tourism season. Title: 2 men arrested and luxury cars seized in alleged $5.5 million cryptocurrency scam. 2 men have been charged with alleged cryptocurrency scams involving $5.5 million, and luxury sports cars worth approximately $2.7 million have been seized by the police in Sydney. Fabio S.A. Alves, 39, was stopped and arrested while driving in Cromer, in Sydney's northern beaches, after which police searched a home and warehouse in the same suburb. The man allegedly used cryptocurrency scams from 2021 to defraud the companies, while the older man allegedly authorized the funds and got rid of the Ferrari to avoid police detection. The police have urged the public to be cautious when using cryptocurrency.